The sloppy look of the abandoned rig that had been retrofitted to haul the poached crystal was mostly due to what looked like a very rough landing. Scout 3641 had also experienced a magma attack, but it obviously wasn't as severe, as their cruiser showed no signs of damage. The poaching rig wasn't as lucky. It looked like it had dead dropped from pretty high up. Since there is nothing directly combustible in hover assemblies, and lithium is an ultra-stable substance in the state we use it for energy storing, fuel-induced explosions are not an issue. Gravity is, and we are subject to dying from relatively short falls, just as you are. And, from what I can tell, the gravity on this planet is similar to ours, though I have to say that I feel heavier than normal in my host's body, as opposed to when I am laying prostrate in my own body on my home moon. That could also be a sensation brought on by Henry's condition, or perhaps some of the medication he is on. I do know that I sometimes feel much groggier in here than other times, but whether it is a natural condition or chemically induced, I can't tell for certain. The poaching rig showed signs of a pretty hard impact, which would account for the mess of crystals still laying in the back of the craft and the hoverbed, as well as scattered throughout the surrounding area. Within the craft, the front was still intact, but the rear compartment had been crushed by crystal jamming forward on impact. Inside it, there were 3 dead bodies. We ran drops on them, but they did not show up in our citizen database. A drop refers to a simple blood prick and test that we can perform on people. We use dropping for many things on a regular basis, so you get used to having your thumb pricked pretty early on in life in my world. The 3 deceased perpetrators put the total number to 7 if you included the 2 deceased operators who were wreaking havoc on the data towers in the Razorstone Pass. And that was a foregone conclusion at this point, even though the 2 survivors we had in custody and were presently being transported to a station. The Grand Valley had still not volunteered any information. The biggest question to be answered immediately was that all of it? Were 2 ships, a hoverbed, static cutters and 7 people enough to do what had been done? Yes, it was very conceivable. And the fact that initial estimates of the crystal volume in and around the crash site was close enough to what was estimated to have been taken that it wasn't very feasible that any other craft would be involved. If so, it would likely have been with either of the other 2 ships, and would likely have met similar fates along with them. While our 2 remaining investigators were going through the wreckage with other Guardians, we had arranged for 2 haulers to come up and remove the stolen crystal back down to the colony for processing. Once we finished gathering here, we could comb over the data remotely, so there would be no reason to stay once the haulers arrived and the area was secured by the moving team. We would leave the wreck. Honestly, as bad as things seem to get up here, I'm not sure anyone else will even discover it, much less find it in their way. Wrapping up the site investigation, we were at a point of waiting, as the haulers hadn't reached the site quite yet, so I had sent 3 scouts out, further to the east, as that would likely be more of the direction we would move in, once we were more secure at the top line. Moving east far enough would also eventually put us north of the existing parted region, which would allow us to better protect the granite mines there. We would have more answers once the perpetrators were questioned further and would likely have to be snapped. But that would tell us a lot.